What happens when two underdog rookies overlooked in the draft, doubted by scouts, and left off everyone's radar, meet again under the bright lights of an NFL joint practice? That's exactly what unfolded when Shadore Sanders, listed as QB4 on the Browns' depth chart, faced off against Jimmy Horn Jr., the so-called sixth-round throwaway who now wears a Panthers jersey. This wasn't a reunion for old memories. It was a declaration, a moment where both men silently screamed to the league, "You got this all wrong." And here's the twist. Shadore didn't even throw a touchdown. He went 4 for 7, no scores, no interceptions, just pure poise and calculated quarterback play. To the casual eye, those numbers may look ordinary, maybe even forgettable. But the reality is, it wasn't about the stat line at all. It was about the feel of the game when he stepped behind center. The shift in energy that followed every snap he touched. His presence was undeniable, and for the first time during this chaotic Browns camp, Shadore was commanding attention on his own terms. Meanwhile, Jimmy Horn Jr. was wreaking havoc on Cleveland's defense across the field. The same receiver Shadore once called the heart of Colorado was now being praised as one of the biggest steals of the draft by Carolina's coaching staff. So here's the question the media never bothered to ask. If both of these young men are already thriving against NFL competition, why were they overlooked in the first place? Why were they buried, doubted, and dismissed as afterthoughts? The answer may expose more about how the league operates than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with Shadore Sanders, because his story at this joint practice reveals the cracks in the Browns system. His performance was efficient, composed, and without mistakes. While headlines raved about who threw touchdowns, Shadore quietly delivered what a real quarterback is supposed to deliver: control, rhythm, and trust in his reads. He wasn't chasing flash, he wasn't forcing throws, he was commanding. And when you're fighting for reps as QB4, every single snap becomes a referendum on your future. Compare his outing to the rest of the Browns quarterback room. Joe Flacco, the seasoned vet, went 8 for 13. Reliable, sure, but hardly inspiring. Kenny Pickett returned from injury and threw 2 touchdowns, but he's been sidelined for 2 weeks and still looks like he's regaining rhythm. Dillon Gabriel, the rookie the Browns actually drafted ahead of Shedeur, notched a touchdown but continues to look shaky commanding the offense. And Tyler Huntley, recently acquired, is still learning the playbook. So let's be real, why is Shadore, with the cleanest mechanics, the sharpest decision-making and 0 turnovers, still buried at QB4? The numbers say he's the most careful with the football. The tape shows his calmness under pressure. Yet the reps say he's an afterthought. That's not a development plan. That's politics. And this isn't just about favoritism, it's about perception. Shadore, the so-called developmental rookie, is looking more game-ready than players drafted above him. Yet he's forced to watch others get opportunities he's already earned. But while Shadore was making quiet statements, Jimmy Horn Jr. was shouting his case across the field in Carolina blue. Horn's path is eerily similar: doubted, overlooked, treated like a long shot. The Panthers drafted him in the 6th round, a move many dismissed as a throwaway pick. But to anyone who actually watched Colorado last season, or even his tape at Jackson State, this wasn't a gamble. It was a steal. Horn was always electric. He was always dangerous. He was always the heartbeat of an offense. And now, under Dave Canales, he's proving it at the next level. Coaches rave about his work ethic, his energy, his never-quit mentality. In a recent scrimmage, he turned a simple motion route from Andy Dalton into a touchdown, slicing the defense with the exact timing and burst that once made him Shader's favorite target. It was déjà vu for anyone who watched them dominate at Colorado, but this time, he was doing it in Carolina colors. The most overlooked detail, though, is the emotional layer. Watching Shadore and Jimmy share the same field again, even as opponents, was a moment bigger than stats or drills. These two weren't just teammates, they were brothers, forged in doubt. Both had been underestimated, both had been told they weren't good enough, and now both were proving those critics wrong in front of the entire league. Yet Shadore's fight is about more than just performance. His battle isn't against defensive backs or linebackers. It's against the Browns system itself, a system that doesn't quite know what to do with him. And lurking in the shadows of that system is the weight of his father's name. Deion Sanders may not be at practice, but his presence lingers in every evaluation, every snap, every headline. Coaches and executives know the second primetime walks into CA. When the lights flip on and the cameras roll for the Browns' preseason opener against the Panthers, the narratives that have been stitched together by executives, scouts, and media outlets begin to unravel. Because for the first time, Shadore Sanders won't be an afterthought running fourth on the depth chart in a closed practice. He'll be the one under center, in front of fans, in front of cameras, in front of everyone who has spent months labeling him as developmental, unready, or simply a storyline attached to his father. And across the sideline, Jimmy Horn Jr., the receiver who lived through the same doubts and dismissal, will be making his case in real time as well. It's almost poetic. Two men who were told they weren't worth the investment, now positioned to change the narrative in the very game that was meant to bury them. But to understand why this moment is so much bigger than just a preseason matchup, you have to understand what both Shadore and Jimmy represent. They are reminders of how flawed the league's evaluation process can be, how much politics and perception can outweigh production and potential. Let's look deeper. Shadore Sanders isn't perfect, no rookie quarterback is, but his efficiency stands out in a quarterback room filled with turnovers, inconsistency, and uneven play. He hasn't thrown a single interception all camp. He's consistently delivered clean drives. He's shown poise that quarterbacks years older still struggle to master. Yet his reward has been fewer reps than anyone else on the roster. Why? Because he wasn't drafted. Because he wasn't the front office's pick. Because his success doesn't fit the league's preferred script. Joe Flacco offers the veteran safety net, the narrative of stability. Kenny Pickett is the comeback project, a former first-rounder trying to reclaim his value. Dylan Gabriel is the investment, the rookie they spent capital on. Huntley is the safe journeyman backup. All four fit categories the NFL is comfortable selling to fans. Shadore fits none. He's not the aging vet, he's not the first rounder, he's not the safe draft investment. He's the outsider who wasn't supposed to force their hand. And so the NFL has done everything to delay his rise. But here's the truth. Results don't wait for permission. Fans have seen the throws. Social media has amplified the clips. And even Brown's teammates have quietly acknowledged his calmness in the huddle. When players respond to you, when the game slows down under your command, that matters more than the logo next to your name on draft night. Meanwhile, Jimmy Horn Jr. is carving his own space in Carolina. Coaches call him relentless, the kind of player who runs every route like it's his last. His explosiveness is undeniable, his separation ability clear as day. Yet the league passed on him over 200 times. He was supposed to be nothing more than camp depth, another body in drills. Instead, he's forcing the Panthers to rethink depth charts. Every rep, every catch, every touchdown is a reminder that production and hunger will always outweigh perception in the long run. And that's what makes the joint practice between these two so symbolic. Because it wasn't just drills and scrimmages, it was a collision of narratives. On one side, a quarterback supposedly unready to compete, delivering clean, confident play. On the other, a receiver supposedly too raw to stick, torching defenses with the same tools he showed in college. And when they locked eyes, you could see it wasn't about nostalgia, it was about vindication. Shadore told ESPN, "Jimmy is definitely missed. I miss seeing the smile at practice with his gold grill." That wasn't just a throwaway line. That was an acknowledgement of real chemistry, of brotherhood forged in battles the league tried to dismiss as insignificant. The NFL wanted to erase their connection by scattering them across different rosters, but fate brought them back together under the same stadium lights. And in that moment, they weren't sixth-rounders or undrafted projects. They were stars, side by side, writing a script the league didn't plan for. But of course, the NFL machine doesn't like being wrong. So what happens if Shadore bowls out on Friday? What happens if he delivers the same efficiency under the lights that he's shown in practice? The excuses will start piling up. They'll say it was just preseason. They'll say defenses weren't scheming. They'll say he needs more time. But excuses can't erase tape. And the tape already shows the Browns have something real on their hands. The real question is, how long can they keep him buried? Fans are already restless. They're already pointing out the double standards, already noticing how clean Shadore's drives have been compared to the turnovers from his competition. Social media is making noise, and in today's NFL, fan voices are louder than ever. Once momentum builds, it's nearly impossible to silence.